Now, before I get into the meat of this argument, like David Carroll would say, I want to do a quick retrospect on some past things regarding this topic. As I said in a previous video, I first got acquainted with Earthquake through Comic View on BET. I think it was the season when Cedric the Entertainer was hosting and he had Laura the Cook as a co-host. That's when I first got acquainted with Earthquake, and he's a very funny and talented comedian. I was also a fan of Def Jam too. Now, at the time, Bill Cosby was very critical of black comedians and everything, particularly all the swearing, all the profanity, and all the carrying on. That part is true. I remember when Bill Cosby was on BET, he was even very critical of Comic View and to a degree some sitcoms and certain movies that featured predominantly black people. And rightfully so. I mean, Bill Cosby, he's from a different generation. He's from a generation where there wasn't too many people like him. And he was trying to disprove stereotypes. So all of a sudden, 20 or 30 years in, to kick down the door and all you see are your very own people reinforcing the said stereotypes you're trying to get away from, that's a bit disheartening in a Bill Cosby sense. So I understand both arguments. You have the comics that don't want to be censored, that want to express themselves the way they want to. And then you have old school people like Bill Cosby who remember a time when there wasn't too many black comedians or actors on the scene, and if there was, they put them in a stereotypical role or something. So I totally get it. I get it. I get both arguments. But this is where Earthquake messes up at. Earthquake, earthquake, earthquake. If you did your homework, Bill Cosby did critique white comedians. I remember watching a clip of Arsenio Hall on YouTube where Bill Cosby did get on Andrew Dice Clay, and I believe some other white comedians as well.
Bill Cosby was here a few weeks ago, and he had an interesting viewpoint on your humor, and I don't think he would mind me trying to quote him. He said that you have a baby now, and you're getting older. There's going to come a time when you're going to regret what you're doing, what you've done, and you're going to want it back because of your child and because of maturity.
That's what Bill might think, you know. What I do in my act and how I live my life are two different things. And the values that I have other than being a performer are what my kid's going to grow up learning, you know. And it has nothing to do with jokes, you know. I don't want the kid to grow up as a clown and work in Ringling Brothers, you know. I'm going to teach him other things, you know. But if that's what Cosby thinks, you know, he's entitled to his opinion. I mean, I really didn't see Eddie Murphy when he was doing all that gay stuff go through the kind of stuff that I go through, you know.
Actually, Cosby put you and Eddie both in the same quote. No, I'm just trying to be honest, because I saw it in Liz Smith's column in New York, and I shouldn't be
No, well, he might have
biased
said it, but I'm talking when Eddie took off as a stand-up comic.
Andrew Dice Clay was kind of feeling a certain way about it. So when Bill Cosby got into the situation he got into, Andrew Dice Clay let it rip with both barrels. And I find Andrew Dice Clay still funny, but all that other stuff he said, I didn't really care for. I mean, Bobcat Goldthwait had stuff to say about Bill Cosby. But I don't know. It's quite interesting that all these different comedians and all these different actors have something to say about Bill, but no one wants to answer things differently. No one wants to talk about, well, how Bill lost his eyesight, how Bill lost his kid. No one's talking about those things because they don't want Bill Cosby be seen in a sympathetic light. They want him to be seen as the criminal and as the scoundrel. Oh, well, he criticized me. He said I'm not funny. He said this. He said, okay, so he criticized you and said this and that and acted high and mighty. Doesn't entitle him to be in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Because if you used to go back and look at, the transcripts and the documents of the trial, Bill Cosby wasn't convicted of rape. He was convicted of sexual assault. And it was just one woman. Those other women, they fall outside of the statute of limitations. But I get it, DJ Vlad. Your only part in this whole sordid affair is to put salt on an open wound. Put throw gasoline on an inferno. Instead of putting the fire out, you want to help the fire burn even more. So I get it. An earthquake, you're no different in everything. I mean, and this is me just putting on my Harvey Superboy hat on, but you need to get over yourself. I mean, it's strange how somebody would equate criticizing a comedian or giving notes of improvement on a comedian with well, he drugged these women, so he a hypocrite. I'm gonna come out and say this, but those women, they were drug addicts. And in some of those circles, girls like that, in order for them to do what they do, they need to get high. They need to, to alleviate the guilt and the shame of what they're doing. Not to say they didn't find Bill Cosby attractive, but girls like that, girls in them circles, and from what I read and from the stories I watched on YouTube, they sounded like party girls. They sound like girls that like to get high. And Earthquake, you acting like, and you're in Hollywood too, Earthquake. You're acting like those type of women don't exist. You're acting like, oh well, Bill Cosby just, you're going along with the narrative that a CNN or an MSNBC or an Entertainment Tonight or TMZ or DJ Vlad wants you to believe. So guess what, brother? A big middle finger to you. You know what I'm saying? And if you get your, wake up call, then I'm not gonna have any tears or any sympathy for you. I'll be like, well, Earthquake must have done it, and go about my business. So, Earthquake, you're nothing but a big ass hater. I still think you're funny, but you a hater, bruh. You need to work on your hating. You need to move on with your life. You're an adult in your upper 50s and everything. You definitely need to move on with your life. I mean, there's things that people said about me that I'm not crazy about. But guess what? I'm gonna move on with my life. I'm not gonna rent space in my head to haters. And to me, it just sounds like you comedians, you salty, bitter comedians, the ones that really didn't make it, including the actors, you guys are bitter and sour that your career didn't turn out the way you thought it was going to turn out in the 90s. And instead of doing things like Cedric the Entertainer's doing, and to a degree a Steve Harvey's doing, you're just relegated to doing interviews with DJ Vlad or working in some hole in the wall club or doing some film that's going to be buried on some streaming site we never heard of. So, Earthquake, miss me with your crabby attitude and whatnot. And I know some people in the comment section are gonna be, well, Earthquake is entitled to his opinion and everything, and I'm entitled to mine. And before you drop a comment, I hope you liked, comment, and subscribe up in this piece. So I think I went too long winded about Earthquake, but basically Earthquake is a big hater and a big middle finger to Earthquake and DJ Vlad. So that is my editorial on Earthquake. This is Bill Cosby. Or should I say Earthquake, the hating ass comedian. This is Bill Cosby. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell for notifications. Follow us on Twitter. And as always, one love.